Today's episode, we're going to be talking about changing your mindset to think wealthy rather than laborly. I don't know. Enjoy.
'Cause I'm terrified, there's no more waiting. I'm running out of what comes next. Running through jobs I'm gonna hate. Living paycheck to paycheck. Like my parents and their parents and their parents before them. I should be happy, I have no personal effects. But I've got my encore. I'm back living on their floor.
Thank you so much for tuning in to The Age of Jeremy. Again, my name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I am your host for this podcast. If you don't know who I am the co-founder and CFO of a business called 3T Warrior Academy. You should go check it out. We have a 7-day free trial for anybody who wants to come and go through our 120-day challenge. Business myself and a little gentleman named Coach JV. He's actually a pretty buff guy. Coach JV and I started. We have our 120-day challenge in that 3T Warrior Academy. We have our wealth pillars. We have courses on all different types of stuff. So come in and check it out. 7-day free trial. There should be a link somewhere in something where we are at. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of a business called Age of Radio. Check us out on Instagram at Age of Radioverse, on Twitter, Age of Radio. We have a fantastic community. It's called Addicted to Podcasting on Facebook. Head on over to Facebook, go to Addicted to Podcasting. All these links are in the episode description, so you can definitely check them out there. We are also launching our first app. It's a crypto aggregator called Merlin. It is the smartest way to track your crypto. You should definitely check that out as well, is what I am saying. And those are the things that I have going on. And what this podcast is about is all of the cool stuff that I do as I, one, build wealth, two, build businesses. I guess it would be one, building businesses, and then two, building wealth from those businesses and all the things that I learn along the way. You can check me out on Instagram at Age of Jeremy, on Twitter at Age of Jeremy Q, on LinkedIn at Age of Jeremy. And more importantly, you should go right now over to YouTube if you're able to. There's also a link in the description, episode description as well. Go and check out my Age of Jeremy YouTube. And we will be doing an Age of Radio YouTube here soon with all kinds of cool stuff, game related. But I guess before we get into the wealth building stuff, I guess I should say, I don't know why I said but there, but you should go over to YouTube and check that out. Again, we keep these kind of unedited, like it's a radio show or something along those lines. What's also cool about the YouTube is if you don't want to listen to this in your podcatcher, you should be able to listen to it right now on YouTube. It releases on YouTube as well. It's an MP4 file, so it's a video, but if you pay for YouTube services, you should be able just to listen to it. With that being said, hold tight for 1 second because I need to roll over here and get these books. Yeah. That's the great thing about doing podcasts is you can just do a podcast and it doesn't have to be crazy. You can just be yourself. And that's what we encourage. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about building wealth. But before, not really about building wealth, about changing your mindset about wealth. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do on this podcast, but I was listening to CJV's podcast and he was talking about a piece about mindset. And then that reminded me not only of mindset, but it also reminded me of building wealth. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on what are some of the things that kind of shifted in my mind over the last 20 years on building wealth. And I'll tell you a little story. But before I do that, I want to talk about this interesting book haul. So a couple of episodes ago, I talked about just buying books and not being able to read all of them. And that continues to go. I just like buying books. In fact, having knowledge and books and information is more important to me than having, a nice car or even a really big house. I like having my house. I've actually been spending more time in my house. Want to put some more money into my house, just because I want it to be more comfortable in certain spots. And we never have really had the energy or time to put into the house. And now I'm trying to make that time to do some cool stuff to my house. So I'm working on getting a sprinkler system in the backyard, working on putting a new tree in, getting my other tree kind of fixed up. And so when people ask me a lot of the time, so we're going through the Index Universal Life Insurance stuff. And if you hear, I don't know if you can hear that, do a little ASMR, but it's a tarot card deck. I'm not 100% sure why I picked it up, but I did pick it up. And so I'm not going to talk about it. Just set it back down. But when we're going through the index universal life insurance stuff or life insurance, because we are building the largest life insurance company in the world through our 3T Warrior Academy, through Freedom Asset Management, with as a company that I manage with my good friend Coach JV, or CJV, as I like to call him. Or he likes us to call him, but I'm one of the only people that calls him that, I guess. I guess other people still call him that. I think a lot of people are still used to calling him Coach, so they still call him Coach. But point being is that um a lot the people talk about like, oh, you're gonna make so much money a month. You know what? Money doesn't really motivate me all that much. Like if you say, "Hey, Jeremy, you're gonna make $1 million this month," I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about that, and a little bit is because money isn't really that important to me. It's important to me up to the point where I don't think that I need any more of it, and the more that I get, it reminds me of that show Forrest Gump, or that movie Forrest Gump. There's only so much money a man needs; the rest is just for show. Yeah, I'm kind of like at that area in my life, just because I like studying stuff. I like giving back. I like helping people out with the money, and so I would rather see my friends and family and other team members become super prosperous as well, so that they can build the things that they want for their family. And then I would just like to, build stuff and give. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to, buy real estate. I'm working on trying to get some real estate, another place in Arizona, trying to build a rental property company. But it's a little bit. It's not really I'm doing it for money. It's just because I want to do those things. And I guess the benefit is that it does provide me more and more money. But with that money, I can buy more knowledge. I can, give money to libraries. I can be philanthropic, I guess. And so it's difficult for me when people are talking about that, because people get really excited about money. Money's never really excited me. And so, well, it used to excite me. And then I just realized that I didn't want any of it. Not that I didn't want money. It was just that I didn't really need as much as I thought. And it's more about being conscientious of your money and planning out your purchases, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the wealth thing. But because I like books, I don't have a problem spending money on books. Now, I collect just books in general. I haven't gotten into the sorry, I'm readjusting myself in my seat. I haven't got to the place where I'm starting to invest in more like antique books yet. I will probably start doing that soon once I have a place where I can store them properly. Um and that might be in I don't know, an office. It might be in my house. I haven't decided that yet because there's so much stuff in this house. And that's why I'm trying to get this house ready over the next year to get it ready to rent out, and then get my own house, another house that's a little bit bigger. But or and try to get much better at organizing stuff, because I just don't make time for it because I'm always in the middle of a grind. And so I think that that is one of the other things that I've been kind of focusing on when it comes to being inside of a house. But so I went on a book haul, and I love Penguin classics, so I try to get as many Penguin classics as I can that make sense of things that I'm more interested in, I'm more likely to read. So I picked up the Penguin classics of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. And if you don't know what Meditations is, it's written in Greek. Well, this isn't written in Greek. This is written in English, but it was written in Greek by the only Roman emperor who was also a philosopher. Without any intentions of publication, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius offer a remarkable series of challenging spiritual reflections and exercises developed as the emperor struggled to understand himself and make sense of the universe. I have read some of it in the past, but I've never had a copy of my own, so I just picked that up. Then I got a Penguin. I just got Penguin Classics. I'm obsessed with Penguin Random House right now and Pushkin Vertigo. And so Pushkin Vertigo is the company that publishes my Japanese murder mysteries that I've been reading. And so anyway, so I collect those. And then I got the Pillow Book, which is by Shonagon. I need to learn other languages, I guess. So it's written by the court gentlewoman Sei Shonagon, ostensibly for her own amusement. The Pillow Book is one of the greatest works of Japanese literature, a fascinating exploration of life amongst the nobility at the height of the idyllic Heian period. It describes the exquisite pleasures of a confined world in which poetry, love, fashion, and whim dominated, and harsh reality was kept firmly at a distance. And so I picked that up because it just sounded interesting when I saw it. And then I picked up Epictetus, Discourses, and Selected Writings. Epictetus is a Greek Stoic and freed slave, ran a thriving philosophy school in Nicopolis in the early second century AD. His animated discussions were celebrated for their rhetorical wizardry and were written down by Arian, his most famous pupil. The discourses argue that happiness lies in learning to perceive exactly what it is in our power to change and what is not, which is a Stoic philosophy. And I'm not getting into Stoic philosophies. I just think, and I think everybody should be stoic, or I say stoic. So it's basically, his school was a Stoic philosophy, and Stoic philosophy says essentially that you have the ability to decide how you react to certain situations, and you should do it with these four values. And I can't remember what they are from the top of my head, but essentially, if you go on TikTok, Stoicism is a very big thing right now, and and I don't have a problem with that. I think that my what sometimes gets me is that is that there's lots of other philosophical concepts, especially Eastern philosophical concepts, that we don't talk about a lot in the West. And I have a bunch of books that maybe one day I'll write about some of them and post them on my website, which you should go check out at ageofjeremy.com. And then I decided to start collecting these portable readers because I already had the Karl Marx portable reader. So I picked up the Jung and the Nietzsche portable reader. And so the goal is to try to become a voracious reader if you have written or listened to the last episode. And so I've been spending a lot more time trying to read, just so I can come up with more content as well. And then also share that content, because the whole goal of everything that I'm trying to do is to share all the stuff that I learned, so that if there's other me's out there or people that are interested in it, they can learn about it as well. So that being said, let's take a 2-second break, maybe a 2-minute break, maybe a three ad break right now. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about how to shift a little bit of your mindset into wealth. And you should definitely go pick up these books. I'm not going to put any of those. Actually, I'll put these books in the episode description and link them over to maybe Amazon, even though I recommend that you go and buy them in your own city, so that money can go. And if you can find someone in your city that is a small business owner, is a book dealer, that would be really cool, is to have your own bookstore. In fact, maybe I'll do that. The cool thing about having, I take that back. The cool thing that is about having money and being a little bit wealthy and getting into a place where you don't have to worry about money, essentially. And if you keep your expenses down, you can, in my opinion, it would be cool to do something like that. Like I would love to have a bookstore. Even if that bookstore didn't make me a millionaire, I would like to have one, because I could put the books, I can make it the way that I want it to be. And hopefully some people would come and buy stuff. Maybe they wouldn't, but if they did, I would be ecstatic. And so that would be really cool. And I would have all of these portable Viking portable libraries, which are also from Penguin, up there, and people could buy them. So I think that you should take some time to check out these books, but I'll link them over to Amazon. Maybe depends on how. I will link them over to Amazon. Go to the episode description. I'll put these bad boys in there. It won't really take that long. It's pretty easy. And then you can link over to them. Might be more difficult inside of that's what it was. I have to change up the way that I do it in YouTube. No, so in the podcast, so that it comes up better in YouTube. But anyways, I can do that. It'll be fine. So we're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about mindset and shifting your mindset and mind to a more of a wealth mindset. And I'm going to give some motivational concepts and some practical concepts in that too. So we'll be right back. And I just realized, if you were listening to this on YouTube, you will not hear any ads right there, because that is from a different software. So hopefully, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you heard this weird break and then I came back in. So I will put a little disclaimer in that, like I just did, in the future. So let's talk about being wealthy. Am I wealthy? Of course. But in your thought process of wealth, though, is going to be different for every person. I am wealthy in the sense that I do not have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have to worry about money. I can buy most of the things that I want. But if my wants changed, then I would not be considered wealthy because I wouldn't be able to afford some of the things that other people think that are wealthy. And so, because I come from a very, very poor family, at least with my mother and myself, it used to be that I just wanted a lot of money, and I've talked about this on the podcast, but I think that it's fair that one, I never judge anybody if they want to go and get money, and I never judge anybody for the things they want to buy, if those things are things that are interesting. For instance, today I was at a birthday party today for one of my family members, and my one of my cousins has a really really nice car. In fact, two of my cousins have really really nice cars. They think that I am super super wealthy. I drive a Toyota 2014 Camry, and that's because I just am not interested in cars. Where, like, again, I went to the bookstore and had no problem dropping $100 on these books. And before I went to the party, I had no problem dropping $100 on games to bring to the party. So in that capacity, it just depends on what it is that you enjoy. Don't buy things just because you're trying to keep up with the masses. Be yourself, buy the things that you want, be true to who you are, and be you. But I will say this. So the one thing that has always been what we hear in social media that I think is the number one thing that you would need to shift in your mindset to push yourself to a wealthy mindset, whatever that means. What the wealthy mindset in the way that I'm going to describe a wealthy mindset is being able to understand to buy things that generate you income or go up in appreciation over time so that you can build larger and larger wealth. Okay. So what I mean by that is, think about the balance sheet. A balance sheet has assets, which are the things that you own that can appreciate or depreciate in value. You subtract out your liabilities, which is a fancy, stupid word for debt. I'm sure that there's more meaning for it, and it's not whatever. It means debt. So you're taking your assets, minus any debt that you have, and what's left over, that's your net worth. That's the number that you should be focusing on. And the more that you have assets that generate you income over and above the amount of debt that you have on it, the bigger your net worth will be, and the better you can survive and live the life that you want to live and do the things that you want to live. And so you have to decide what that number is. But to get to that number, you do have to realize that you have to start buying things that create income for you over time. Okay. And so the number one way to think about that and to do that is you have to, the first thing, and you might think that it's a stupid, you might think that's ridiculous, but you have to understand grit, and you have to be consistent and have discipline to do things that you don't want to do when you are unmotivated to do them. A lot of people push this concept in the world that we have to be super super motivated. We have to get up there and get out of it. And what happens is when we buy, and again, I'm just going to use people's names because I'm not nothing against Tony Robbins. He seems like a really great guy. But like, if you go to a Tony Robbins seminar, you're pumped up while you're there, and then when you get back in the world, you don't have the motivation anymore, and that's because you were fucking high as a kite, not literally high, but you were super stoked when you were with that thing with Tony Robbins. But then when you got in the real world and you had to put in the actual work, you're not going to be excited to do that shit every day. Like doing this right now, as I get into it, it's getting better to do, right? Like I'm more happy about doing this. And this isn't that difficult, and I like sharing stuff with people. But like, I had gone to a party today, and I did CJV's podcast, and then I was like, okay, let me just record my podcast, and I was not motivated to even record this. Now, as I get going into it, I love doing this, and that's kind of what I pushed myself. Like, I knew once I started, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, I can probably get into doing this. But the point is that I was not motivated to do it, but I had know that it has to go out because it's going to impact at least one person, and that's important to me. And two, I can get more content and start building out my YouTube page, and that excites me. But I knew that I had to be consistent with this, and I knew that I had to be disciplined with it. The same thing with so many things. There's these meetings that I have on Mondays that I hate, and I don't like doing them because I'm not a big fan of meetings. And so when I do these meetings, I'm super unmotivated to do them, but I have to do them, and I have to do them consistently. And what gets you to do that is grit. And I will say the number one thing that college taught me was a ridiculous amount of being able to have grit. And the reason why is that you have to do stuff in college that you don't want to do. You have to learn things that you don't want to learn. You have to write things that you don't want to write. You have to do ridiculous, stupid stuff for really long periods of time. And from that, you learn the ability to have grit. And with that ability to have grit, you will do things that you don't necessarily want to do all the time, but that's the way that you can make your dreams happen. There is stuff that I do not want to do that you may not want to do either, but you have to do those things and you have to do them consistently. And the better that you are to do those, the better the likelihood is that over time you will build wealth from different sources of income. It's very hard to work 16 hours a day. Sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes you have to work 18 hours a day. Sometimes you have to work 20 or 24 hours a day, right? And if you have the grit to do that, I'm not saying you have to do that every day. Sometimes you will have to do that when you're building a business or trying to be successful, and having that grit will help you push past the ability to not do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you have to do is you have to be doing things that you love. If you just love making money, then cool, it's going to be a lot easier for you than something else. But if you want to be happy doing something, you have to be able to find out what that is, what your special skill set is, get good at that thing, continuously get good at that, and then sell it to customers directly, not selling it to your labor, right? So a lot of people always say that you should always get that labor job because of the fact that's how you're going to make a living, and you should do your fun stuff on the side. That is true at the start of it, but if that fun stuff, whatever it is, if you're able to sell that directly to customers, that is how you're going to make money. I essentially do the exact same thing that I did at the bank right now with advice, but now I sell it directly to customers and we have it in an e-learning format so I can make money month daily while I sleep. Okay. And so that's the thing that a lot of wealthy people realize was that if you listen to Charlie Munger or you listen to mainly Charlie Munger, he's going to say things like, I didn't want to work for someone else. He wanted to sell his labor to the customer directly and cut out the middleman. And that is one of the things that you have to change your mindset on to become wealthy, is that I need to start selling to customers the things that I can do. Now, once that happens, you have to realize that I need to now take advantage of other people's labor. And I know that might seem um, kind of hypocritical of me to say, especially since I am very anti-capitalistic in totality, but I don't, my point, my goal in this is to not to change your mindset about our economic system. My goal is to make it so you can thrive in the economic system that we are currently in. And so to thrive in the economic system that we're currently in, once you are able to sell your labor directly to customers, then you have to figure out how you can take that money, not take so much of it, put it back into the business and buy other people to do what they're doing, right? Right? And then they will start getting more, then you'll start getting more money in. Okay. And then the thing that I try to tell people that I work for is I want them to go and try to make their own money so that they can do it and they don't have to always labor for me. The marketplace for labor can always be existent with those people trying to go and make their own money. But what capitalists end up doing is then they stop their people from doing that. And so I would encourage you when you're doing that is help your people get more money by them selling their other things that they enjoy doing, or maybe even things that they do and they can freelance it and they can buy someone and they can grow their businesses too. But it always starts by taking what your skill set is and being able to sell it directly to customers. Okay. And then so the next thing is that the mindset set changes that as that money comes in, do not just want to buy more and more stuff. That's the other problem, is that when you start getting more money, you start just buying more shit, getting more debt. And that's not how most mindset wealth is. If you listen to Robert Kiyosaki, he's always going to be talking about fucking debt. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not trying to pull a quick one over you. I'm talking about how the majority of people do it. Then they will go and buy things like life insurance to make them money, which has a bottom and a cap. I'm not going to go into that. You could go and buy buildings. You can go buy more businesses. You can start more businesses. You can do other things. So when that money comes in, don't get excited. So me, I own my car. That means that I don't have a that means that I don't have a $500 to $1,000 a month car payment or higher insurance, which frees me up more cash that then I can go invest in other businesses or buy more labor or buy an assistant so that I can become more productive. So that is how you have to shift your mindset in wealth, is to realize, one, one, that you have to have grit, that you have to do shit that you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. You just got to get over it, and you're just going to have to do that. Secondly, is start figuring out how you can sell directly to customers yourself. And then three, figure out how you can leverage labor by getting more and more of you to do more and more of what you do, and then you can manage it, or you can buy a manager to manage it and then sit at the top and do it. Okay. So those are the three main things. The fourth thing is you have to change your mindset of short term versus long term. You have to have a long term goal and short term goals, but you have to realize that this is where I want to be in 10 years. If I plan to be in here in 10 years, and this is what it's going to cost me every year, this is what it's going to cost me every day, month, this is what it's going to cost me every week, and this one's going to cost me every day, and you focus on those things, then eventually you will start building a snowball effect of money coming in and wealth happening. So we've been doing the same thing, or I've been doing the same thing for 6 years, right? 6 or 7 years. And now I am starting to get more prevalent on social media. Again, I'm not like a big social media, like famous person, but the more eyes that I have, the more that I can share with people, the more that I could talk with people. And then when I write a book, or if I say, go buy this, you guys will go and do it. Right. So, um, so that's a long-term thing. I've been doing it for a long time. It starts to grow. Okay. Then I'm trying to find this many sources of income, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources of income, and I'm trying to get to 10. And then I'm trying to get my businesses each to 10 sources of income. And so when you do that, you start to get this snowball effect where you are always having money constantly come in, and then you continuously do those same things. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have nice stuff or you shouldn't buy stuff, but what I'm saying is the longer that you can hold off while you're building all these sources of income, then eventually it will compound so much that you will just have a bunch of money. Okay. And then you can even do more exciting things with it, like then go invest in other companies, try to get on their board, build other businesses, do the things that you want to do. Or maybe your goal is to retire. I don't judge anybody. If you tell me that all you want to do is get a shit ton of money so you don't have to work anymore, that is perfectly okay. Working all the time is ridiculous. I do not disagree with that. Um, and so if you get to that point, then you get to do what you want to do. So that's those are the big ones that are going to kind of shift your mindset. The other ones is another one that comes to mind is that you have to be willing to um you have to be willing and able to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and suck and try and do and try and suck, right? So like if people like, okay, you've been doing age of rating, I've been putting money into it, right? It's not a super profitable business. It's still getting off because it's still getting bigger and bigger because I don't have the time and energy to put into it. Now I get to put more time and energy into it because I have a better plan. I have more money. I can hire more people. I take the money that I get from my other businesses, put it into that, and then those things start to compound. So as long as you are okay with sucking and failing and keeping going, eventually you will start to hit that compounding effect. And that's super, super important to switching that mindset. Okay. The other thing that wealthy people do is they read businessy stuff. I'm not, again, all those books that I read, I find more value in reading those. But again, I went to business school, so I have a pretty good knowledge of it. I would recommend that if you don't understand financial statements, buy a class, buy a 6-week class from a professional company from an Ivy League school like Harvard or Yale or Northwestern or whatever the case is, or Stanford, go through like a 6-week financial course or a course that a CFO would go through so that you could completely understand the financial piece of business. That'd be the first one. The second one is I would understand how stock markets, portfolios, bonds, all of those types of investment works, and you can find really good businessy, like again, professional studies stuff that does that, and then marketing. Those are the three most important things, in my opinion, that can lead someone to be successful. Is you have to have really, really good, strong understanding of marketing. You have to have a really good, strong understanding of financial reports, and you have to have a really good, strong understanding of investments. As you are going and building, make time for those types of education, because that's the type of education that people that think wealthy or have a wealthy mindset or are wealthy, they learn that, and then they teach that to the people that are coming up in their family families or in their business to make sure that they know it so that you can sustain and create longevity within your businesses and within your wealth. So I didn't write any of this down. So I'm going to see if I can recap. One, you got to learn grit. Grit yourself out. Do shit that you don't want to do. I always say meditation real quick before I go through a full recap. Meditation also works for grit, is because if you can learn to sit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and it's irritating and annoying and you push yourself past it, and then you can sit for 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours, or sit and read for long periods of time. You can do the same thing with reading. If you get good at doing those things for long periods of time, then when you have to do something that you don't do, you have that, I guess, that like habit built into you that you can push past those things that you don't want to do. So like, for instance, if you like are stuck at night, I had to do testing for Merlin the other night. I didn't want to do it. I was tired. I wanted to go to sleep, or I wanted to relax. I haven't played video games. I'm always motivated to play video games. I wanted to play video games. I haven't played video games in like 2 weeks. And I was like, I just want to do that. But I was like, I got to do this testing. And that irritation, I was like, okay, this is the more important thing. I can get through it. I can grind it out. Let me just do the testing. And then when I'm done, if it doesn't go too late, I can play games or I can go to sleep and I can rest. And so meditation and pushing yourself past your meditation limits helps with that. And pushing yourself past reading limits helps with that. So I will just say that is find a thing that you hate doing, do it a lot, do it for long periods of time, and then you'll just have that habit built into you. Okay. So for a recap, one, make sure that you get grit. Okay. And again, I didn't write any of this down, so I don't know if I'm going to fully be able to recap any of this. It was just stuff that was stuck in my head, and I wanted to share it with you because those are the things that are super beneficial for me. So recap. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'm going to be able to recap any of this because I really forgot no, I'm just kidding. Okay. So make sure that you understand about grit. After you understand that you need to have grit, make sure that then you figure out how to sell yourself directly to customers, whatever that is. If you're working a job, do it on the side. Maybe work 20, 30. Maybe work an extra 40 hours a week, do an 80-hour week, 40 hours at your job, 40 hours at your other thing, selling directly to customers. Once you figure that part out, realize that you can't do that forever, and you're not going to grow and grow and grow unless you have other people laboring for you to then make it larger and larger and larger. So then go and find more labor that can replicate yourself so that then you can move into an ownership capacity or a management capacity in that business. And eventually you can go to governance, and then you can go out and just be a stockholder and own it. The other thing that you need to do is, as more money comes in, don't expend it. Right? After you get the laborers and you get that business growing and growing and growing and making money while you're sleeping because it's on autopilot, right? It's a store that's running itself, or you have an e-learning course, or you have, whatever that you have a bunch of people that are working for you, keeping that money coming in, right? Don't just expense that. Put it into more assets that are going to get you either more appreciation income, or another type of income that's going to be coming to you. And the longer you can hold out doing that, the larger you can make that, the more money you will have coming in. And then that is how you can start to create that freedom. Then what I would recommend doing is really understanding financial statements and understanding how the balance sheet works, how the financial statements work, how the cash flow statements work, understand marketing and understand investing, because then you can change your mindset, you can educate yourself, so then you can make better decisions and you're less likely to be oppressed by the other advisors that are selling you everything. And then from there, teach that to whoever you want in your family to keep that going. And then there's lots of other things that you can do. And some of those things that we teach, actually, we teach a lot of this in our 3-2 Warrior Academy. So again, 7-day free trial for 3-2 Warrior Academy in the episode description. Hit me up on the DMs and any of my social media if you want to ask me any questions about this. I am more than happy to share. And I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and we will talk with you next time. Bye.
Is in
Thank you for listening to The Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. One last time, go and follow me on all the social medias at Age of Jeremy. If you liked this podcast, make sure that you give it a review, like it, share it, do all kinds of stuff. And also remember, you can listen to these now on YouTube. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel at Age of Jeremy. The beginning song was Brave Faces Everyone by Spanish Love Song. So clothing song was Threatening Each Other, Recapitalism by Illuminati Hotties. My favorite microphones are Neumann microphones. We record this on a Zoom L8. I record in Steinberg's Cubase, and I use Waves plugins. One last time, be thankful, grateful, and kind. We'll talk with you next time. Bye.